Movie cocktail party. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson host a cocktail party at their mansion. The next morning, the guests discover that one of them, socialite Elizabeth Grant, has been found dead in the ballroom. Detective Johnson is called in to investigate. Johnson examines the body and discovers that Elizabeth was poisoned. During the investigation, Johnson learns that the victim was drinking a cocktail when she collapsed. Johnson questions the guests and discovers that each of them had a motive for killing Elizabeth. He finds out that Elizabeth was involved in a lawsuit against one of the guests, businessman Charles Richards, who was also her ex-boyfriend. Johnson starts to suspect Richards as the prime suspect. In his search for clues, Johnson discovers that the hostess, Mrs. Anderson, had a secret affair with the victim's husband, Mr. Grant. Johnson starts to suspect the Grants and the Andersons as possible suspects. Johnson also discovers that the victim had a history of mental illness and had attempted suicide in the past. Johnson starts to suspect that the victim may have poisoned herself. Johnson gets a break in the case when he finds out that the cocktail served to Elizabeth was spiked with a large dose of a rare poison. Johnson examines the cocktail glasses and finds that one of them contains a lethal amount of the poison. Johnson also finds a piece of fabric in the trash can that matches the dress of one of the guests, socialite Caroline Williams. Johnson interrogates Williams and finds out that she had a grudge against Elizabeth for stealing her fiancé. Johnson discovers that Williams had access to the poisoned cocktail glass and the means to spike the drink unnoticed. Johnson finds a confession note written by Williams, in which she admits to poisoning Elizabeth. Johnson arrests Williams and the case is closed. The film ends with Johnson returning to the crime scene, examining the cocktail glasses and contemplating the intricate web of motives that led to Elizabeth's tragic death.